Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Anne Marie Jeremy, Vice President of Operations here at Compass, and this is Need to Know, our Webisode series where we navigate through the latest industry news, cut out the noise, and get to the good stuff. In today's webisode, we will be reviewing the recently released Secure 2.0 amendments. To help me review these items and share their guidance are Colleen Moore, Director of Relationship Management here at Compass.
Hi.
And Michelle Fleschmel, Director of 316 Operations here at Compass.
Hi, everyone.
So before we get to today's agenda, please feel free to type your questions into the chat and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can at the end of the webisode. And also, we are recording the webisode and we'll post it to our website next week. We have a lot to get to, so let's get started. All right. The Secure 2.0 amendment is now available. Compass is currently in the process of incorporating these changes into our existing plan documents. And once these are finalized, the amendments will require a plan sponsor signature. So you should expect to hear from and receive those documents from your relationship manager in the coming months. The amendment includes numerous provisions. So in this webisode, we will be reviewing the provisions that Compass is defaulting into, as well as explaining that clients will now need to elect to opt out of self-certification for hardship distributions. So in addition, the new Secure 2.0 distributions options are available for election through the amendment. However, Compass is not defaulting plans into these options as not all record keepers currently support them. So these provisions are discretionary and should be discussed with your relationship manager, and they'll be able to help you confirm which options are supported by your record keeper and review the operational details of each provision. So I'd like to pass this over to Colleen Moore, who is going to talk through the provisions all plans will be defaulting into. Colleen?
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I'm going to talk about some of the provisions that you'll see as automatically elected. And some of these provisions you have already been using. You were able to operate under good faith that you would then amend your plan later. So some of these will be familiar, but we'll just kind of touch on what they are and how they can be beneficial to your plan. So the first item is involuntary distributions, sometimes known as force outs. It used to be that the threshold for forcing terminated participants with balances under 5,000 out of the plan. Secure 2.0 actually raised that to 7,000, and there are a lot of benefits to that. The first is that it can help with your fees. If you force out more participants, your per participant fees go down. You don't have to worry about sending notices to those participants. You don't have to track their addresses and worry about additional missing participants. And the other is that one of the other benefits recently is that for 5,500 counting purposes, only participants with account balances are counted towards whether or not your plan meets an audit threshold. So if you're one of those plans where you're hovering around the audit threshold, using that $7,000 force out will help you get out additional participants and potentially keep the time and expenses of an audit out of your hair for a few more years. The next provision is the super catch-up rules. So participants for years who are over the age of 50 or 50 and above were able to do additional catch-up contributions on top of their regular deferrals. Beginning in 2025, participants 60 to 63 were eligible for what is known as super catch-up. This was another provision that you could rely on in a good faith that you will later amend your plan. And so now those participants who are 60 to 63 can do an additional extra bit of catch up. So in 2026, rather than the 8,000 catch up that everybody else gets to do if they're over 50 or 50 and above, the limit is now $11,250, and you'll be automatically defaulted into that. The next provision is a great one. This is the top heavy relief for otherwise excludable employees. Otherwise excludable employees are employees who are either under 21 and or haven't met a year of service. There's a statutory requirement that you have to include everybody that is over 21 and with a year of service, but your plan can be a little bit more generous and allow people to enter sooner, and you're no longer going to be penalized by requiring them to get potential top heavy contributions if you're on that threshold. So that means that you have the flexibility to take those employees and test them separately and potentially avoid giving them a top heavy contribution. Your ADP tests were already operating under that way. So this has been a great way to really give people more flexibility around bringing people in sooner if they want. The last provision I'm going to talk about is employer Roth contributions. After Secure 2.0, you were able to give your employees the ability to elect to have their employer contributions either match or non-elective done on a Roth basis, the way they're choosing for their own contributions. We are actually not defaulting plan sponsors into that. And that is because there have been some unexpected pitfalls around this employer Roth contribution. The first is that, unlike when participants are making their Roth contributions on a pay period basis and they're having those taxes done right away, participants are facing a tax consequence for the entire year all at once. So the participants will get a 1099 issued, and then they'll be responsible for paying taxes on all of their employer contributions all at once. And that was creating a burden for participants. The other is that participants must be 100% vested in their employer sources in order to be elect the treatment. So it was just putting up some additional barriers. So your plan is not being defaulted into these employer Roth contributions. As Anne Marie mentioned, there are other provisions that we're not defaulting you into or out of, or sorry, there are other provisions that we're not defaulting you into, and that's because certain record keepers have certain rules. So if you do have questions about what you're being defaulted into or out of, and you want to discuss those, please just reach out to your relationship manager and they would be happy to discuss it with you. And I think that covers it all for me. Back to you, Anne Marie.
Thanks so much, Colleen. Okay, and next we're going to have Michelle talk about a very hot topic here at Compass right now, self-certify hardships. Michelle.
Thanks, Anne-Marie, and thanks, Colleen, for all of that great information. We have one more exciting topic yet to cover today, and that is the self-certification of hardships. So one of the changes under Secure 2.0 is that participants could now self-certify that they meet one of the safe harbor criteria for a hardship distribution. And now that the Secure 2.0 amendment has been released, Compass has finalized our approach to the hardship self-certification. So in the past, we may have released some information, but now that we have more guidance on the amendment, we wanted to clarify our approach to that. So for Compass clients using our plan document services, the language in the new Secure 2.0 amendment reads that the plan allows for hardship self-certification unless an opt-out date is entered. So if the employer does not want to allow participants to self-certify for the hardship, then they must opt out and include an opt-out date in the amendment. So Compass's position going forward is that every client or every plan document will reflect that self-certification is allowed unless the employer opts out or if the record keeper does not support self-certification. So right now we found that most of our record keeping partners are supporting that self-certification option, but if they don't, our team will reach out to you regarding that so you know that your plan must not allow that until the record keeper is set up to support that. So adopting the self-certification is an attractive option for a lot of reasons. One is that it reduces liability for the fiduciary, whether that's you as the plan sponsor or if you've elected to have a 316 fiduciary on your plan, such as Compass. Now the liability or the participants are bearing the responsibility for certifying that they meet one of the hardship criteria. That also protects participant privacy. So when participants are facing these financial hardships, they can often be reluctant to share the details of that with their employer, understandably so. So by the participant being able to self-certify that they meet that rather than having to provide documentation, that helps protect their privacy. It also allows for quicker processing time. So for most of the record keepers, during the request process, the participant will certify that they meet one of the safe harbor criteria for a hardship distribution, and then that moves through for processing. And so from there, the plan sponsor or 316 provider or TPA will still need to approve the request, but they're usually looking at things like the plan document to ensure that the plan document allows for hardship distributions, look at the participant investing, and then they're able to review and approve the hardship rather than having to collect documentation to verify that the participant's hardship meets one of those hardship criteria. And that not only speeds up the process by not having to request those documents, it also can help in situations where it's not entirely straightforward. So some examples of when a request may not be entirely straightforward of if it meets the hardship criteria is when the request is for making home repairs and it's not straightforward if those home repairs qualify as a casualty loss, or also if the participant is requesting reimbursement for cosmetic surgery and determining whether or not that cosmetic surgery is medically necessary. So in these cases, it will just reduce the need to request the additional documentation, which may take more time and also be difficult for the participant in some cases when it's dealing with that delicate information. So those are the reasons that we're looking to add self-certifications on the plan. Now we're back to Anne-Marie.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks so much for that information, especially the examples, because it really outlines, why this is a suitable way to go for most plans. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And thanks, Colleen, as well. It was a lot of great information. It does look like we have gotten some questions. So I'm going to take a minute and go through some of those. Let me just read my screen and see what's come in. So one question that a few of you have asked, it looks like, do we have to tell our employees that we are changing to the self-certification of hardships? This is a really great question. And there will be a summary of material modifications that's attached to the amendment when you receive that from your relationship manager. The SMM is a document that's specifically designed to explain any changes to your plan to participants. So it should be distributed to your employees. And for our 316 clients, we will be providing this documentation to your employees on your behalf. Let's see, let me pick another one. Will the currently accepted hardship withdrawal reasons change? That's a great question. Michelle, can you take this one?
Yeah, of course, Anne-Marie. So the short answer to that is no. The reasons for hardships have not changed. So the safe harbor criteria for a hardship distribution remains the same. During the self-certification process, the participant is just certifying that they meet one of those reasons. There are some new distribution options under Secure 2.0 that Anne-Marie touched on in the beginning. And while Compass is not electing to default people into allowing for those types of distributions, you can elect to allow those in your plan if you'd like. And as Colleen mentioned, you'll want to talk to your relationship manager, but those are different specific distribution types. They are not additional reasons for a hardship distribution.
Yeah, great clarification. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, I think we have time for one more. If someone is 63 at the beginning of the year, are they able to take advantage of the new super catch-up? Colleen, can you comment on this one?
Yeah, happy to. Another great question. So much like regular catch-up, the age of determination about whether or not you qualify is your age on December 31st. So for regular catch-up, if you're 49 all throughout the year, but then you turn 50 on December 31st of that year, then you're eligible to make your catch-up contributions all throughout that year. Similarly for super catch-up, if you're 59 at the beginning of the year and then 60 on December 31st, you're eligible for super catch-up. Conversely, and somewhat unfortunately, if you're 63 on January 1st, but you turn 64 anytime throughout the year, then you are not eligible for super catch-up that year. It's your age as of December 31st.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. Thanks, ladies. If you have a question that we did not get to today, please feel free to reach out to your relationship manager. And to wrap up, we will be sending a communication in the very near future with instructions to follow if you would like to opt out of self-certification for your plan. So again, if we do not receive affirmative direction from you, your plan is going to be defaulted into this option. We'll handle all the updates with your record keeper to ensure the provision is set up to go live. So, and as a reminder, all other provisions, including those new distribution options that Michelle talked about, they should be discussed with your relationship manager. So thank you so much, Michelle and Colleen, for your expertise today. And thank you everyone that tuned in today for taking the time to join us. Have a great day. Take care.